My question is, what is now available in the version 10 and version 11 for the community? I talked with, I forgot his name, and he showed me the release notes. But is there any? Have your strategy what's now in the version, in the community version 11? Is there something from the enterprise version 10 in it, or is the branch more or less diverging between enterprise and community?
Can we get a microphone?
Do we have another mic?
Yes, it works.
So our strategy did not change. So we want to have a very good open source product, which is Odoo Community, and we want to have some features to sell in Odoo Enterprise, and this did not change at all. And so basically there is some exceptions, but what's in community stays in community, and what's in enterprise stays in enterprise. We try to have a good ratio of, I used to say 80% of our efforts are on the community and 20% on enterprise. The thing you have to understand is that there is no diversion of the two products. The way we designed the Odoo Community, Odoo Enterprise model is to have Odoo Enterprise to rely on Odoo Community. So technically, Odoo Enterprise is just a set of modules on top of Odoo Community. The good thing, it means that if we as a vendor want to improve Odoo Enterprise, it means that we also have to improve Odoo Community, because the framework and all the apps, sale, purchase, inventory are in Odoo Community. So by design, and we did it on purpose, by design, the way Odoo is structured, we guarantee that Odoo Community will evolve, because if we want to make Odoo Enterprise evolve, we have to make Odoo Community evolve. So don't be scared, the Odoo Community module is a great module, it's a great product that we will support over the long term, and we have no intention to switch completely to enterprise or aggressively to enterprise. That's not the way we see the thing, because we really think that Odoo Community brings a lot to Odoo. A lot of people, if they are there, it's because of Odoo Community, and if Odoo is famous and if we have 3.7 million of users, it's because of Odoo Community. And we need that, so we will continue supporting Odoo Community for the long term.
And about the feature, if you take the release note, I would say that 80% of the items in the release note are actually in community, because 80% of our commits were in Odoo Community. So if you take, for example, the whole web client refactoring, that's in Odoo Community. If you take every change we did in the framework, it's in Odoo Community. In terms of new feature, a new app in community, there are none, and in enterprise, neither. So maybe one in enterprise, the website calendar, but we don't do many apps. Like every year we get some new apps, but we do less that, and we focus on the existing app and make them better and easier to use.
Yeah, maybe one thing to understand. 2 years ago, we decided to switch from a pure open source business model to an open core business model. It has been the best decision we have taken so far, because otherwise the company and everything would not be there, and the version 10 and 11 would not be there neither. Because of this choice, we could have invested millions in R&D and paid the developers that improved the product. But what happened over the past 2 years? 2 years ago, we only had an open source version, so 100% of the code was in community. Our goal was to have a ratio of 80% community, 20% enterprise, because we think it's fair. 80% community still means that we have a strong community product that continues to evolve a lot. 80% is a lot. And we think that 20% is enough to justify the professional or the good companies to buy the feature. We just need 20% of the feature to justify the sale, at least at the price we quote. But when we started 2 years ago, we had 100%, 0%. So in order to rebalance, we didn't want to put community to enterprise. It's what's open source stays open source, and you have a guarantee by license that you can always use it as it is. So what we did over the past 3 years, we developed a little bit more enterprise to cope to bring this balance to the 80%, 20%. It took us 2 years, so 2 versions. We did in version 10 and now in version 11. But now I think in the future, we can refocus more on 80%, 20%. That's what we have to do. But it's clear that if you had a look at the past 2 years, we did probably more like 60% community, 40% enterprise, but because we had to recover to get this 20% that we didn't have because we started by 0%. But now that we have this, I think, fair ratio between community and enterprise, if you look at the main apps, you have like sale, inventory, MRP, purchase, CRM project that are community, it's good. And you have accounting, studio, marketing automation that are in enterprise. So if you do the sum of the apps, you are more or less at the 80-20% ratio. We think it's a good ratio that should not change. And so there will be no balance from one feature to one other, from community to enterprise, because if we do that, we want to recover our 80-20% ratio, and there will be probably no balance from enterprise to community neither. So yeah. Okay. I hope it answers the question. Arshad, you have to jump. Oh, there. No. Here there is a question.
Just a question. The other day on the presentation they said that account is being moved from community and that it will be only an enterprise model. Is that true, and is that decision final, or is there a chance that account will be in community version?
So there is a technical answer and a marketing answer. So the question is, did you remove accounting from the community and put it in enterprise? No. The first, the technical or product answer, no. The only thing we did is to hide one feature, which is to show it in the installation thing. So it's just a checkbox that you can reactivate in probably 2 or 3 clicks. So accounting is still there. But as a product point of view, I consider, and I think you will agree, I hope you will agree with me, that Odoo Community in standard is not an accounting software. Show that to an accountant and he will tell you, you missed that, you missed that. There is a lack of this. There is no bank interface. There is not a good interface to write things. So the reason why we did that is more as a product and marketing point of view to say, we have to manage the expectation. If we say we do an app, it has to be clean, otherwise people start to criticize. It was very hard for us to have people that who said, the accounting of Odoo is not good. We had a lot of people saying that. Why? They were using Odoo Community. Why? We were telling them that Odoo Community was an accounting software. We think it's not at the level of the proprietary accounting software, so it's better to say we have a great invoicing software in Community. If you need an invoicing, Odoo Community is good. But if you need an accounting software, if you are an accountant and you expect the quality feature, like the same level of quality that you would have with Sage, you will need Odoo Enterprise. So the reason why we added it in the product is to manage the customer expectation and not try to lie them and say you will have a great accounting software in the product. So our message, marketing message, but I think it's a real product message, to say to a customer, if you need accounting, you have to go with Enterprise. But we didn't want to destroy the community features. We think it's fine that there is community feature. We think it's fine that there is OCA module that compensate the things that are missing in the accounting framework of Odoo. So the right balance between that was to say, we hide the features so that we don't make the customer think that you will have a great accounting software if you download Odoo, because it's not the case. It is if you download Odoo Enterprise, but not Odoo Community. So we hide this so that we can say to the customer, if you need an accounting, it's in Odoo Enterprise, not in Community. But we still keep it in the framework. The accounting engine and all the features are still there, so that if people like the OCA and other wants to contribute and wants to add in the meeting thing to still do accounting on top of Odoo Community, we are good with it. So it's a good example. It's very complex to be in our position because we always have to find the right balance between community, customer, partners, and us, the editor. It's a good example on how I think we find a good way to handle that, is to have a clean marketing between that manage the customer expectation. When we tell them we have something, it's something of quality, to avoid people doing blogs and saying that Odoo accounting is not good. And the interest of the community, which is to keep all the features and the engine in Odoo Community so that they can rely on that for their custom modules. I hope my answer was clear. Yes?
Can we use it in the community or is it a range of prices?
Sorry?
Can we use it in the community version of the
So can you use it? You can use what you want. It's an open source product. But I can answer in a different way. In terms of strategy, the investment we will do to certify Odoo for different governments, to interface with the bank interface, to have legal statements, to make all the things evolve because every year it changes in every country, we'll do it in Odoo Enterprise because we need the revenue. We really want the 80%, 20%. We needed something in the 20%, and we think that accounting is a good candidate for that because it really requires a lot of research and development to be at the level of the proprietary software in terms of quality. If you want to do accounting on the Odoo committee, you can do it. But don't tell an accountant that you will get the same as you get with Sage. We prefer that you say Odoo committee is a great invoicing software. If you want accounting, you go with Odoo Enterprise, or some countries have good OCE localizations.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that we have discussed this with many people using the community and OCA modules on top of accounting, and they do agree that the community version, the basic features of accounting are not sufficient for a real accounting system, so I think everybody agrees about that. One thing that kind of went wrong is the way we communicate about this, because it's always a sensitive topic when we discuss the repartition of features between community and enterprise edition. So of course, discovering a commit message or something that doesn't really explain the strategy behind it is always difficult and starts discussion where everybody wonders what's happening. So we of course know about that, and we work on communicating better about these kind of decisions. I think eventually the discussion converged with better explanations on the mailing list, and it was kind of clear and okay for everybody. And one last point is the fact that you should be kind of not fearing that the accounting will go from the community edition, because the main part of the accounting, the founding models, the tables including your journal entries and journal items, are kind of the core of the accounting part, and we definitely cannot take them from the community, because it would fragment completely the way accounting is done in the OTA modules and in the enterprise modules. So obviously that core engine has to stay in the community edition, so there is really nothing to fear there.
Just to, I would like to commend the work on accounting and how it evolved over the years. But one thing that when deploying or implementing a solution to a customer, when facing issues with since version 8, the change of the chart of account structure, the parent chart, is no longer there, as you know. And I know it's movement.
So you mean that the fact that it doesn't use parent ID?
There's no parent and child.
Parent, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, to convince customers, I mean, it's cool with the certificate thing. So I just wanted to know what was the motive behind that decision.
Are you using committee or enterprise?
No, enterprise.
Easily answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is a no. So the main ID, initial ID that improved, was the parent ID, and the view mechanism in the account was painful. We always had chart of account destroyed because someone created an account and the parent ID was not good, and then the balance sheet was wrong, and then the accountant told you, but what is this accounting software that produced wrong number? So we obviously had in version 8, I think.
No, in version 8.
Before when we had this parent ID and view mechanism, serious usability issues in the accounting. So we wanted to fix that by simplifying and putting all the accounts as a flat hierarchy so that it's easier to import. You have no view account, you have no risk of doing some mistake, and compensate the fact that companies still need an hierarchy in their reports, in the report engine. So we did a hierarchy in the PLN advanced balance sheet. The thing is, a lot of people missed that it was done in the report engine. So some people did not notice that and complain about that. Other thing is what's not as easy to create a hierarchy in the report as it was before with the parent ID. So obviously with this move we lost a little bit of usability, which was more complex to recreate the hierarchy in the report. So what we did now in version 11 is to compensate that and still create a hierarchy structure, that is another table, so you don't have the problem of parent ID and view, which is more a category like in QuickBooks, but that allows to create hierarchies that you can configure the way you want in the configuration menu. So now you have the hierarchy, full hierarchy like you had before, without the problem of parent ID and the view account. I apologize if it took 2 versions instead of 1. We didn't did it perfectly on the first one, but we fixed on this one.
Next question.
Which new theaters are you planning
Which new?
What?
Roadmap.
The roadmap for the next version. We don't know yet, and the next week, that's our job, we will discuss about what we will do for the 12. Maybe you have some idea and you want to share it now. I don't know.
You too, maybe.
I have some idea, but I don't want to share it now because if we don't do that next year, I don't want to. But I want to manage the expectations.
I have a political answer. The good news is that we were waiting for your feedback these days to decide for the roadmap.
Yes, also that's true. Yeah, Olivier, you have some. No?
No, we can say something.
Yeah.
So the roadmap is not defined, but we are still a company where we know where we want to go. So
Yeah.
we have a direction that we follow for years, like usability, efficiency of the user, productivity matters a lot and continues to matter. So we think we still have a lot of things to do in this area. So now we have to split that into tasks, making user become more efficient. Is it improving after-sales services, or is it improving the speed? Or we did not decide, but we'll continue the direction we have taken from years, is to develop a software for the users so that they are better on their day-to-day activities. But now we have to specify that.
Yeah, you have to know that maybe 80% of, maybe only 60% of the work is really improving very small details in the current apps. So it's something that you don't see when Fabien do the keynotes and he shows new feature or big improvements, but that's the visible part of the iceberg. But the biggest part is all the details and all the small commits that we did to improve the current apps. And so that's the majority of our work, and that we know we will continue.
Yeah, an example is inventory. Inventory was probably our biggest project for version 11.
And the web client.
And the web client. Yeah. And for both applications, there is nothing visible.
Not much.
Not much. But the end user will notice it because it's faster, there is no problem, you cannot record the wrong serial numbers, it checks everything for you. You can edit and fix a mistake if you did. But those are not super cool features. Like there is no new big announce of we can do that we couldn't do before. And we will continue in that direction of being more mature, cleaner, faster. It's not big features, but it's super important for the end user.
I have a nice story about that, about the web client here. It's the same. The web client, they refactor everything and they improve the framework a lot. But there should be no visible change, except that it doesn't flicker anymore, and so it's more smooth. The experience is smooth, but it's on the subconscious level. You cannot tell it directly. And what happened is that we have an external accountant that it's an advisory, and he has to come every month to validate the account. And he came to the office with his computer, and he played with the new version because we migrated the week before, and he had to use Odoo to go in the accounting and validate stuff. And he told us, the Odoo is much better now, but I think it's because I have a new computer. He received a new computer that week, and he was thinking, probably it's my computer that is faster, but no, it's because we changed the web client and the experience was more smooth. So it's really, and also Christine, our accountant, she said something similar, like, yes, I think my computer is faster, or something like that. But so that's a kind of improvement that make have an impact, but are difficult to show, and because it's not visible or not obvious.
So I have a question regarding your view for the direction that you want to take with respect to the quality of Odoo, more specifically maintainability or testability. Yesterday there was a great talk on how to make good unit tests about new modules, but my view about when you would like to make these unit tests is that there's a lot of business logic buried inside the ORM, and you need to create these initial states just to maybe test a little bit of piece of code in your modules. So
testable?
So I think the question is related. When we do, there are many kind of way to test Odoo, but if you want to test the business logic, it's usually done in Python, and you have to configure some example data. And so there are two ways to do it. One of the ways, in Odoo you have demo data, so you can use those demo data and play and make flow with them. Like you have a demo invoice, you confirm it, you pay it. The other way is to create inside the test the specific data, and we do both. If the data is useful for the demo, we try to put in demo, but sometimes it's very specific use case, so we only create them in test. And about the test in general, if you look in this release, we added a lot of tests, and also it's a bit annoying because now the build takes too much time. We think we will improve the situation by improving the performance, so we will gain what we lost by adding tests by improving the performance. But so I don't think there is a definite answer. It depends on the developer. For example, Simon, who did the stock, he created every data that he tested in his test because he wanted to test orthogonally every use case. For example, for the valuation, he had, I don't know, maybe 25 different use cases for the valuation of the stock. And so it depends on the developer. And for example, for the new web client, that is very well tested now, they made a lot of small tests of every widget, and they mock the server, things that we didn't do before. So it takes about, I think, 2 minutes to run the whole test. We can say that now if you break something in the web client, we will see it directly in the test. And actually, before, there is what I call the myth of the Phantom JS test, that people at Odoo, when the JavaScript test failed, they were thinking, oh, probably it's the testing stuff that doesn't work, and probably it's not an error, but it's not the case anymore. If you are read on run, but because the JavaScript test failed, it's true, it's a bug, and you have to fix it. So we improved the situation a lot, I think, about testing. Maybe you want to add something?
Yes. Yeah, maybe about the question of decoupling the algorithm and the setup of the data. I think maybe one thought that I have is that Odoo is basically not a rocket science engine, and it doesn't do lots of complex algorithm that you would want to validate separately. A lot of what Odoo does is moving database fields and transforming records, and it's not really very complicated, and it's very data-centric. So it's actually a good thing, in my opinion, that we are exercising the whole stack for all these tests, because sometimes we are discovering an issue not because we had specifically a unit test for that, but because simply we are exercising the whole stack all the time with the whole test suite. So sometimes it makes sense to have more specific unit tests with mocks, like the JavaScript web client, which is kind of a separate component. And now we are doing a lot of progress on that area, and we have done that. But for the business features, I think it's actually good that we don't do too many mocks and that we use a lot of the real system all the time.
Okay. Yes, because when we say unit test here in the context of Odoo, we don't think about unit test, but test of flow of business. So I think it would be useless to create unit tests in Odoo. For example, you have a method that I don't know, change the state of an object, like move from draft to open. It's stupid to do a unit test like, okay, I click on the button and I check that it's now in the open state, because the function is only one line. So what matters is when you test full flow, especially involving different objects, and then at the end you should see you started from the CRM from an opportunity, and at the end you have some money on your bank account because you've sold something, you shipped it, you invoice it, and at the end you have money on your bank account.
problems. I think those tests are more useful. So when we say unit tests, because we use the library unit test, but usually the tests in Odoo are not unit tests, but more business flow tests.
Hello. The other day, someone made me a question, which I answered with my honest answer. What I
No, it's okay, but
put the mic.
Okay, I gave my honest answer, but I think I was curious if it was asked to you, what would you answer? It was like the community, and the OCA, I represent also the OCA, it's quite well organized and it strives for quality software, which is genuinely good, but I was asked, so what's in it for Odoo? If the community is too organized, shouldn't it be like a menace or a competitor? Why should Odoo want to keep this community strong? What keeps them from just going full enterprise? I think my honest answer, well, I believe that there's a symbiotic relation, but it's based only on my belief, so I think it would be important to hear from you, your opinion.
The strength of Odoo is Odoo itself as a product, obviously, but having all these modules on top of Odoo is a huge value for the user and the customer. And as a software vendor, that's what matters for us, what we can deliver to the user and the customer. So in this context, the OCA has made a very good job on improving the apps and the quality of the third-party module, the community modules. And I think now, over the past years, the community modules was not our focus. And so we were very happy that the OCA did it, so we could focus on the core product and they could improve the different verticals for different industries or different countries. So we needed that and it has been great. We didn't collaborate it because we have different agenda. We work on master, the OCA mostly work on stable version. So it's not like there is a good collaboration, but we well define the responsibilities. I think that's for me what mattered, what worked, is that the OCA were working on things, we were working on other things, but both together are complementary. So that was very good. And now, one of our focus for the next year is to improve the quality of the App Store. So I think we'll join the forces with the OCA in that direction. That's something the OCA did for their modules, but their modules is a part of the App Store. I don't know if it's 10% or more or less, but they did it for their modules. The good thing now is that we work on the same direction we want to do it for all the modules, but we can benefit from the knowledge of the OCA. Or we can even include the OCA in your own algorithm. When you rate a module, having someone that does a pull. A code review and every pull request is obviously a sign that the module is a better quality. So the fact that it's managed by the OCA increases the quality. So when we will want to rate the different modules, that could be one of the elements we will use. So in short, it's not a matter of competition. I mean, our competitors are Excel or Dynamics or we are what? We are like not even 1% of the market. So it's not a matter of competition. We all fight to build something. And in that things, the OCA build a lot of things that are complementary to what Odoo do. Or sometimes there are two modules that do the same. So you could have a module in the OCA that does the same than in Odoo Core or even Odoo Enterprise or even another community member. But that's good competition, that kind of competition, because it's not a business competition, it's just a technical competition. We try to build the best module. It's good, and it doesn't create a business competition. I mean, at the end, we'll just use the module that works the best for the customer, but the customer will not even notice it, most probably. Yeah. So sometimes people might have the feeling that we don't care about the OCA. It's just that we consider that it's different responsibilities, and our responsibility is to make the core product move forward. And the responsibility of the OCA is to complete what's missing, what they think is missing for their market or their industry on the core product. And both work very well together. And I think it's important to be focused. And I think if we would have tried to collaborate more, it would not have worked. Because the OCA probably don't want to work on master. It's not their job. All their customers are unstable. We don't want to work on stable. That would be a loss of time. We have to deliver you a new version every year that is always even better. We don't have the same reach as a software vendor. We have some guidelines that are very strict in terms of usability, code review. So we are here in terms of guidelines. So we are slow also to produce feature compared to OCA is there, and probably the other ones are there. So we are different way of working, so we cannot easily work together. But as we are complementary, I think it's very efficient. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you.
You have announced that now the new version has localizations for, I don't know, 20 countries. What is the difference between the OCA localizations that existed before that and the localization that you now integrate?
We don't know.
We have to go into detail in every localization and compare what is there, what is not there. So everyone is different. So I cannot answer you that. You should ask Laura, who followed every country in every detail. But we collaborated with the people. Some people who worked on the OCA localization also worked with us on the enterprise localization. Actually, community, because actually the data is in community, except for the dynamic reports that are in enterprise. So, for example, the taxes, they benefit also community, because when you use invoicing, you use them also. But actually, yeah, one of the reasons we, in the split between invoicing and accounting, is also the fact that we want people to start with invoicing, but at some point they might want to switch to a full accounting. So that's also one of the reasons why we have the data there. And the chart of account is that's the reason also why we have to keep the chart of account in community.
Sometimes you should not forget that Odoo has two hats. So if you ask the question to a sales department at Odoo, they will tell the customer that they have to go with the core and the official localization, because that's what you can guarantee, that's what you support, and that's the thing for a customer, it has all the service that comes with it. If you ask the technical side, so Antony's side and Laura, they just collaborate with the OCA to do something together, whether it's the Spanish or the Mexican localization, they think together, and OCA has module, we have module, but maybe 50% has been shared, and the rest, they have their point of view, we have our point of view.
Hi. We're looking to start a big project on inventory. It's about a 200-day project. Would you recommend using the stable version of Odoo 10 or the new version of Odoo 11?
Go with 11.
Yeah. Thanks.
For sure. So, you may have a few bugs that within the next days or weeks, because it's a new version and we have been late on the code review and the test, especially on this application. But first, it's a detail. Every bug reported will be fixed in 1 day or 2 days maximum. But all the issue we had with version 10, just to give you an idea, we had a lot of support questions of people who created a delivery order and they put the wrong serial number, and then they call the support. The support has to work to fix a worker that did not register the real serial number, or they messed up with the data because they misconfigured. All the small details like that, you will save a lot of time if you work with version 11, or performance. So you may be afraid of a little bit some bugs, but it will largely be compensated by the quality of the version.
Another question about localizations. I'm curious because there are frequent changes. It's not just about having a localization, there are frequent changes. How are you up to date with this? So how do you know what's new in Mexico and Spain?
The great thing with the business model is that we are financed by the customer. So if we need to put 2 full-time developers to fix a localization, we have no problem about it. We'll do directly, it will be done for every version. So as long as you have a minimum base of customer, it becomes easy to follow, to put the resource you need to do it, and we are at that level in most of the countries. So for us, it's not a topic, and if your question is more about the knowledge, how do you get the knowledge? From time to time, we work with partners, sometimes we work with customer. You don't need 100 accountants to know what to do for when a tax change, and you just need to read what's online, and if you don't understand the language, you ask a partner or a customer. So it's quite easy to do, especially because our enterprise contract guarantee that every customer can ask us to fix every change in the legal thing. So any one of these customers can come back to us and say, you should change that because the law changed. So we just do it, and that's it. As long as you have a minimum base of customer or partner, the information is there, so there's no problem.
And there is a funny thing also that we learn every day about new countries or new law, and I really think that the fiscal law in every country, there are some countries that are really complicated, and we say, okay, this one is the most complicated, and then a few months after, we learn about a new one that is even more complicated. So, and we were used to think that Belgium was a very complex country in terms of tax, but they are worse countries.
And one thing which is funny is that sometimes we think we even know better than the ones of the country. We often have a content that says, so, no, you should do that and you do that, and it's wrong. And I would say 50% of the time they are wrong. Yeah. But we have done so many different countries, and we had the feedback of so many different people. You have to know that all the feedback we get for customer, for the thing, arrive to the guys working in accounting in our company. That now we came to a point that we can evaluate what people say, we know what's right, what's not right, we know how to find information. We often go in the law to cross-check what people say. So we have a team that have a knowledge from years of working with the community and the partners and the customer that allows them to do localization pretty quickly and efficiently.
And also this is a bit recent, because when we launched version 9, we didn't have that team at that point, but since we started the team around that time, and now the team is quite, it's not big, but it's a team that is working well, and they shift also their focus from some core development in accounting, which we consider is not complete but good, and they shift to their focus to localization. So 80% of the work is on localization.
In short, you can ask them any country, they do it in 2 months.
Yeah, I think.
Because the process are there, the competencies are there, the knowledge, the way to get the knowledge is there, the partner network and customer network is large enough to easily find information, and every information is online. Huh? If you want to know what's happening in a country, you search for a few words on the web, and that's it. Huh? So we have now the maturity to guarantee we can do a lot of localization pretty quickly.
Question over there?
Yes. Will there be focus this year on a report studio? And if so, what kind of timeline?
We don't, like we said for the roadmap at the beginning of the session, we don't know yet. We have to decide that next week. So Fabien, he said, well, it's so easy to go in the XML file, and if you really want to get something precise, you need to go in the XML file, and you will have the exact result that you need. But it would be nice anyway, just for simple variables or something like that, maybe to drag and drop stuff. So we don't know exactly what we will do yet.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I'll shut in the back.
There's another question that came to mind. Maybe it's more of a technical question. Yeah. In one of the projects, we were faced with the issues of having many product variants around more than 1.5 million.
Yeah.
And we faced performance issues. I mean, with some tweaking and worker threads and so on, we optimize it. But my question is, I mean, now you all know that the new version of Postgres, they have features that support parallel running and so on. And then, so basically my question is, is it anywhere in the roadmap to improve the indexing and make use of these features of the new versions of Postgres? Allowing concurrency. Yeah.
So I think there are two questions. The first one is about product variants. If you have many attributes and it generates millions of products, probably those products don't really exist. So there is an option in Odoo to not create the variants. So if you just want to use attributes to configure a specific product for every customer, because you have maybe 10 attributes and it would create so much product that it would not even be possible to create them in database. Please use that feature to configure product, and it will actually save in metadata on the line of that sales order the information about the product. So I advise you to use that if you have that many attributes. And the second question is about the performance of PostgreSQL. That probably Olivier can answer.
Yeah, and the great thing about the performance of Postgres is that most of the the improvements that they do directly work for the kind of queries that we are doing. So even some of the improvements that they did with parallel queries in version 9.6 and in now version freshly released version 10 directly work for the kind of queries that we are doing. Many improvements are just for free by upgrading your Postgres server. And then we are...
Version 10 was released today, I think. Or yesterday.
Yesterday. And then, but of course, we always are working on improving the performance, and when it comes to adding missing indexes or improving this, so definitely that's on the table to continuously work on improving the performance, especially for like big tables like inventory and products and the kind of volumes always appears in these big tables. So we definitely will continue to work on the indexes as well.
Yes, go.
How can we
Garde-le, Olivier, pour répondre. Après, tu le donnes.
can contribute to the roadmap?
Sorry? Say that again.
How can we, out of the people, can contribute to the next roadmap?
How can
we propose
okay.
ideas and
feedback?
I think you already did it. I speak to a lot of people. Antony probably speak to a lot of people over the past 3 days. Or product owners were also met a lot of people today. We often have feedback for the customer and the partner. So we already get a lot of feedback. You can still send an email if you want to the.
No, it's not feedback. It's help, and they forward to feedback.
I have the feeling that we already get a lot of feedback from people, but if you want to add your own point of view, just talk to us after, or some of the product owners, that there are 5 here, and give your point of view, and I will evaluate. After, for the roadmap, we used to move forward on our side. The way we work, when you do a roadmap, first we do by sprint, so not everything is decided next week. We try to decide the direction, the biggest direction, like should we work on usability or performance or big directions. But for the details, we define them every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We create tasks from time to time. And there are 2 kinds of improvements. There is the big tasks, like refactoring of inventory, refactoring of accounting, refactoring of MRP. When we do that, we usually invite the partners to work
on the specification.
On the specification in Belgium. So last time we did 2 days of working with them, and they challenge our specification, and then they come back to test what we have done. But we only do that for the large task, the huge refactoring. For all the small tasks, usually it's faster to just do it. And if it's wrong, you will criticize us and we will improve it.
And also, you can also create pull requests for small detail. Usually small detail, nobody does a big thing in the pull request because there are not many chances that it will get merged, but for small fix, I mean, it's true. For small fix, you can do also pull requests and we process them.
Do you plan to issue some certifications for Odoo?
Yes.
For example, for security, for in the health industry?
I don't know. No, it's not planned.
No, because we don't want to defocus ourselves. I think the value we provide is to improve a product, build a better product. And yeah, we could work on some marketing incentive, certification, new platform, but that would be a defocus. And the strength of Odoo has always been our focus. We didn't defocus ourselves with OCA, we didn't defocus ourselves with certification, with other things. The whole strength is really to focus on building and improving the product for year after year.
We have a certification, but it's not related, it's for partners. When they do the training, there is some certification.
We have certification, but we also...
This is not related to
and what we do also, because we want to guarantee that we have a real accounting software, we also do the certification when it's necessary in the country. Like we did the certification in France for the point of sale and accounting, because we provide an accounting software. But there we did it because it was mandatory. If it's a healthcare certification, we probably not do it because it doesn't touch all our customers. And we have partners that do that. So
it's about the same question, because sometimes it's mandatory in some fields, like in health, for example. We cannot, we had that
some customers in health industry. They have asked us for some
Yeah.
required and legal certificate.
Okay, if it's mandatory for accounting, we do it because accounting, everybody needs it, but here in your field, it's a vertical. It's only for your industry, so there we don't do it.
We often have debates of customers that say you should have this certification or partner that come in, why don't you have this certification? I don't know all the certification, but I would say that 80% of the time when someone comes to us and say we need to certify the software for that, 80% of the time actually the certification is on the company, its process and the way the company works rather than on the software. So there are some certification of software too, but first you have to check that it's really a certification on the software and not on the company. Most of the certification are on processes, the way the company operates, and so has nothing to do with Odoo. It's the company that should organize the sale. Odoo is just a tool. The other thing is that our vision is to be generic. We build a great accounting software, website builder, CRM. We don't want to invest in industries simply because we have to choose on battles and it would be way too much. And we rely on partners to develop the industries. So if you have a question about a specific industry like healthcare, our answer will always be, we are not interested because we do the generic things. We hope partners will do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. Sorry, I lost the first 15 minutes, so if my question
okay,
is
okay.
just it's about the API services. So just changing a little bit the topic. And yesterday you show on the slide a lot of speech that we are 4 actors basically. Now I don't know if you remember the slide.
Yes.
And in this slide, you see the customer. You see Odoo as a payment gateway, in fact. Then you see, well, actually the partner. And the service provider. In my point was just thinking tonight, and I figure out that actually the partner should be split in 2 actors, because I will see that you can have it's not exactly a partner. It's more like a connector or like an integrator.
That's the reason why on my slide I also use the word proxy, because it's a proxy.
Exactly. So the idea is that if you start using a proxy or like an integrator in this slide, there is someone who is missing. Actually, they are the real partner. I mean, if integrator can be anyone and not official partner. In this picture is missing the role of the partner, and as a kind of business issue, because when you start,
I think it's a problem of words and terms, but because when we meet partner in the context of Odoo, we always think integrating partner by somebody who goes into a company to install and configure to make it running there. And the people who, for example, publish apps on our app store, some of them don't do that. They are just a software editor. So we don't call them partner, but from a business point of view, of course they are partner because we do business together. It's just that we don't call them partner because partner for us is integrating partners.
The slide there is misleading. It's not a gold partner, it's a community member or partner or system integrator or HR service company or accountant or whatever you want.
Okay, so the point became how can partner be rewarded by these new services? Because I know in the agreement of partner, official partner, you get money from the 10% of licensing issue, but about this 25%, there is no mention in how the partner can be rewarded.
Let's say a partner resells a SMS service, he probably want to have his commission on the service. It's a good idea, we'll think about it. You're right, there is another actor, there is the one that deploys the software to the customer, in addition to the one that develops the software.
That's the point. Because in this case, I'm the person I bring the customer, not the so it's like...
We need to think about it.
We will think about it. No answer, no.
So 5 minutes remaining, so maybe 1 or 2 final questions. No question? then I think we will conclude here. Yeah?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And see you next year.
It's not finished.
It's not finished, but I mean, it's my last talk, so. And I think it was